practices that affect children, youth, and adults with disabilities and those receiving educational supports. We're talking with Amy Hewitt, director of the Institute. Amy, we laid out just so much, I'm sure only a partial amount of the amazing work that the Institute is doing and has been doing for the state and the country over the past 40 years. Can you talk to us a little bit about the risk now that the Institute is facing under the current administration when it comes to funding?
I sure can. I think that the words that I use are there's an assault on services and programs for people with disabilities. You can start with Medicaid, SNAP benefits. Those will disproportionately affect people with disabilities all over the country and will be extremely detrimental. And then you can look at smaller programs that don't get nearly the attention, like our centers, University Centers on Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. And right now they are proposed for elimination. This is a network of centers across the nation. There's at least one in every state and United States territory. And we work collaboratively across the nation to make sure that policy in this country supports children, youth, adults with disabilities and their families, and to make sure that those are cost-effective services and that the outcomes of those services are positive for people. And right now, they are slated for elimination. And by federal law, we exist. There is a federal law in this country called the Developmental Disabilities Act, and that act requires us to exist, and yet we're likely to be eliminated if we cannot influence what is happening in Washington, D.C. So there are people like me all over the country trying to talk to anybody and everybody who will listen to get our elected officials to understand the importance of the work that we do at our center in Minnesota and the work that our entire network does across the country.
The legal situation, can you unpack that a little bit more for me? So there is a statute, a law saying that you should exist, but then are they trying to just zero out the budget, or are they actually trying to repeal that law?
They're not trying to repeal the law at all. There are several programs that are funded under the Developmental Disabilities Act. Mm-hmm. There are 3 sister centers in Minnesota that you may have heard of. The Minnesota Disability Law Center, they really focus on legal issues and laws in Minnesota related to intellectual and developmental disabilities. And there is also the Developmental Disabilities, the Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities, and they focus a lot on policy advocacy and teaching individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families to learn how to advocate and how to influence public policy. They do a lot of demonstration work. And then we're the research arm and the education arm of the DD Act. And for whatever reason, USEDs are the ones that have been identified for being on that elimination list. We can speculate why that is. My guess is the word university has influenced some of that. And then there are these also less known, talked about programs called Projects of National Significance. We've been very fortunate in Minnesota to have one that has been it's been funded for a very long time, almost our entire existence. We track the deinstitutionalization of where people with intellectual and developmental disabilities live in this country. There's also one that tracks employment, and there's one that tracks costs. So we have lots of outcome data of services to this population, and those are on the elimination list too. So those decades of our ability to monitor not only where people are living, if and where they're working, and how much all that costs will go away if these remain on the elimination list. And the challenge for me in that is, what's the logical reason for that? It's hard to figure out a logical reason when they're so cost effective. And it's important work to make sure that what we're spending our money on works and is good for people.
Well, and the population's so vulnerable. I mean, I see many examples where they seem to be targeting the most vulnerable people, you know, the people with the least amount of other alternatives or better alternatives. And so it's like going to the bottom and hurting the people at the bottom. I don't mean bottom, but you know what I mean? Just vulnerability in terms of bottom. And it seems so inhuman. I don't understand how to understand it. Intellectual is one thing, but emotionally there's no way to understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
Amy, sorry.
Makes sense. The space between your heart and your head can't make sense of it.
Yeah, it's impossible to me.
Well put. What is the timeline in terms of the budgeting process that you're facing right now, Amy?
So the legislation was passed, the big bill was passed, and now we move into appropriations. So our understanding, and these timelines shift. So today, my understanding is the House Appropriations Committee work related to this funding will likely start around July 21 and likely conclude by July 26th. And then the Senate appropriations will happen sometime late August. So there's time to influence the appropriations by contacting elected officials and letting them know what you want them to do.
Thank you, Amy, for taking the time to talk with us today. I can't believe we're already at time here. You can connect with Amy and the Institute on Community Integration to help them and their work and to support them at ici.umn.edu. Also, listen to Boldly Challenging Ableism on AM 950 Radio Sundays at 2 p.m. and everywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you, everyone, for listening and or watching today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow, same time. Until then, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Today, 1 in 5 working-age Americans has a mental health condition.
People in all types of jobs and at all levels.
And the key to helping us succeed is a supportive and inclusive workplace.
All of us have a role to play in making that happen.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can listen and be a source of support to my colleagues.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
I can offer all employees the supports they need to deliver on the job. For the team
and for the business.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others
that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
mental health-friendly workplaces are more important than ever.
And all of us have a role to play in promoting them.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
When facts matter, you turn to WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
A fair balance where the facts come out.
Real news, real talk.
AP News, I'm Mike Hempen. Senate Republicans have advanced President Trump's request to cancel some $9 billion in previously approved spending. A final vote in the Senate could occur as early as today. The bill would then return to the House for another vote. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports on President Trump's support of his Attorney General over the Jeffrey Epstein files.
President Trump says it's up to his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, whether to release any more records related to the sex trafficking investigation of Jeffrey Epstein.
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job.
Some of his supporters disagree and are calling for Bondi's ouster. Trump was asked by a reporter whether she told him if his name appears in any of the Epstein records.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing.
Bondi reportedly clashed with FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino over the issue.
But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release, yeah.
Trump also suggesting without evidence, Democrats made up the documents. Epstein, who was a one-time friend of Trump's before a falling out, killed himself in jail in New York awaiting trial. I'm Julie Walker.
AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports on Russia's latest drone attack on Ukraine.
The overnight Russian drone strike on Vinnytsia has left at least 8 people injured and firefighters battling blazes in several buildings. Vinnytsia is one of 4 Ukrainian cities pounded Tuesday into Wednesday morning. 400 Shahed and decoy drones launched, as well as 1 ballistic missile, the Ukrainian Air Force says. At least 15 people have been injured in the strikes in all that mostly targeted energy infrastructure. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
This is AP News. The National League wins baseball's All-Star Game.
For the first time, the MLB All-Star Game ended in a swing-off. MVP Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies homered 3 times to give the National League a 4-3 advantage after the American League overcame a 6-run deficit to tie it 6-6 in the 9th in Atlanta. NL manager Dave Roberts.
There was a lot of fight on both sides, but there's a reason why these guys are the best players in the world.
Pete Alonso of the Mets hit a 3-run homer in a 4-run NL 6th. Cleveland's Stephen Kwan's infield single tied it with 2 outs in the top of the 9th. Seattle catcher Cal Raleigh successfully used the first robot umpire challenge to gain a strikeout for Tarek Skubal in the first. MLB honored late Hall of Famer and Atlanta icon Hank Aaron by recreating his record-breaking 715th homer through projection mapping and custom pyrotechnics. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
I'm Mike Hempen, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops with a high in the mid-90s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Thursday, another slight chance for rain showers, cloudy skies, a high of 74 degrees. Friday, sunny, high of 81. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 77. Some people just know they could save hundreds on home insurance by checking Allstate first.
Hold it.
Like you know to check the assembly instructions first.
Hold it.
Before building the bookcase.
And done. Whew. You can let go.
Yeah, checking first is smart.
Ugh.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Potential savings vary. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Wednesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the July 16th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. So give us a holler. Send us a text. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and email me, of course, at Richard at WCPT820.com. I got caught up on some emails. Thank goodness. You can also catch me on Substack. I'll probably get something on there later this week. Well, tomorrow or Friday, which is later this week. We're at midweek. It's Wednesday. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views short versions and long versions, which obviously are our featured interviews of the people that we talk with, and that includes everything from our conversation with Congressman and Senate candidate Raja Krishnamurthy yesterday, Alderman Andre Vasquez, Rich Logis, Mayor Johnson, Jen Walling, and Dr. Kimberly Gunther from the United Way. I think that Jen will be with us on Friday, so I'm looking forward to hanging with her on Friday. But yeah, make your way over there because you're going to be able to get Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. And there, I'm gonna hit this real quickly. You really got to make your way over to Heartland. There is a really great article that Rich Eberwan wrote that was posted earlier this week on the situation down in Texas. And I'm not talking about the flood. I'm talking about the governor, Greg Abbott, refusing to release email exchanges between him and Elon Musk. And apparently, from the information from Rich's article, one of the publications there had agreed to an estimated cost of $244 to review the records after the Texas newsroom had paid the check. The governor's office said the records were confidential and requested that Attorney General Ken Paxton allow them to be sealed from the public. And all I have to say, I have a lot to say. I shouldn't say all I have to say. What I'm going to say about that is this is getting stinkier and stinkier with what both Ken Paxton, the AG, and Greg Abbott, the governor in Texas, are doing. Once again, they are playing with truth and people's lives, and they need to go. Texas, y'all need to do better. If you want to have the support and the strength that the people of Texas deserve, then you all need to do better. But we're going to have a little compare and contrast of a couple of clips we're going to hit you with back to back that Henry and I put together. And one of them is, in fact, talking about the comparisons of Texas. And some of you may have heard parts of this already, but we're going to bring you what I believe is great statement, great fighting. And as much as I've had commentary about this gentleman, I still am in his corner if he's going to make the decision to run for president. And that would be this great clip from Governor of California, Gavin Newsom.
What separates our game from the game played elsewhere is innovation, entrepreneurialism, more patents, more engineers, more researchers, more Nobel laureates in my state than any other damn state, more Fortune 500 companies in my state than any other state. Look that up, because I know people are rolling their eyes and saying, no, it's Texas. You're wrong.
It's true. I looked it up.
And we're, by the way, a donor state. We provided $83.1 billion more than we received from the federal government. Texas took $71.1 billion. I'm not saying that to bash Texas, but you know what? Pretty proud of my goddamn state.
I saw that
above
too.
Our weight, man. But AI.
Can you repeat those numbers?
$83.1 billion. We provided more to the federal government than we received in the same year that Texas received $71.1 billion more than they provided to the federal government.
So you're net positive.
Net positive. 9 out of 10 of the donor states are Trump states, and I don't mean that pejoratively, Trump. 7 of the 10 are Republican states, but 9 out of the 10 dependent states, welfare states, are Trump states. The donor states disproportionately the blue states. 71% of the country's GDP comes from blue counties. Mm-hmm. These same crack-up counties with all these crazy liberals that can't get out of their own goddamn way and the world's come to an end. It's 71% of the economy of the goddamn country, man.
See, so this is why when we talk about what Democratic states, blue states, however you want to play it, are doing, this is what's happening. We in the blue states are the states that are providing that support. The giver states versus the taker states, if we want to make it that plain. And Governor Newsom's right on point. And he's going to continue to be on point like that. And yeah, I openly and admittedly, I was upset with him for the podcasting earlier this year. But I know he's on the right track in terms of speaking the truth that he knows about his state of California. And as he said, the blue states. He didn't just speak about California. He spoke about the other blue states and what the blue. Illinois is one of them. We are a giver state. And when I think about what he just said in relationship to this article that we have that Rich Eberwein posted on Heartland Signal, which you guys need to go over and read if you weren't aware of what he's doing. It's always some shenanigans with him. And I do mean always. There's always some shenanigans from taking human beings and shipping them off to another state. What he did with regard to sending asylum seekers, migrants, whatever words you want to label people with. Human beings, I'm going to start there. That's where I'm going to start. Sending human beings in the cold to a place that they had no resources other than what we as a state of Illinois and our governor and our other leaders did to make the situation as palatable as possible for people. That's the kind of stuff that Republican governors are doing. That's the kind of stuff that the Greg Abbotts of the world are doing. And I want you guys to understand that, when I look at what our leaders are doing, imperfect as they all are, and they'll be the first to admit it, they're not doing that, Henry. They're not sending people off to another state. They're not sending human beings off to another state. They're not playing around with information that they know is probably harmful, i.e. these emails between Greg Abbott and Elon Musk. Very probably. I haven't seen them. Obviously, now we're saying that they're private. So check this out, Henry, which is what's crazy. Private emails with the private citizen. Something's up with that. The fact that they used, let's go back and look at this again. Confidential and requested the AG Paxton allow them to be sealed from the public. So then why in the hell did you have them with them in the first place? What's so confidential about having a conversation with a private citizen? What, y'all having an affair or something? I don't care, but I care that you lie about it, but I don't care that you have it. Grown folks do what grown folks do. So make sure you make your way over to Heartland Signal and check out the article that Rich Eberwein posted on Texas Governor Abbott refusing to release email exchanges between he and Elon Musk. And let me know what you think when you get a chance to read it. You can email me your thoughts about that. But Gavin Newsom said, hey, our gosh darn state is getting stuff done, and as are other blue states. And we are the ones that are contributing to the growth of this country. Real dollars, y'all. And big old Texas Texas walks around talking about how bad they are. But they're a taker state, Henry. But you'd think that Texas was giving it up to the federal. No. But they complain about things that benefit what other states are doing. So there you go. Guys, we're going to take a little bit of an early break because we've got a full schedule today. Our guest today, of course, it's Wednesday. So we're going to have our great friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. He's going to be with us in the 6:30 hour because we've got County Commissioner Kevin Morrison will be with us at 7. And professor and author Jennifer Golbeck will be with us in the 7:30 hour. So we've got a fast train moving. It's Choose Views. The number, of course, as always, is 773-763-9278. We will be right back.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. If you're over 50 and tired of your wireless bill getting higher and higher, there are 4 things to consider. 1, how much data are you really using? As we get older, we use less data on our wireless phone, but you're probably still paying for an unlimited plan that was designed for 20-somethings. 2, if you see Get a Phone on Us, get your sneakers out and run the other way. No one is giving you a free phone. You are paying for that phone over time with an overpriced rate plan and a long-term commitment. 3, check the fine print on that $15 a month plan. It's probably an intro price that'll double or triple later. You might even have to pay for several months of service up front. Number 4, be aware of cable company wireless plans. Most of your usage will be on Wi-Fi instead of 5G, and your calls and battery life could suffer. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable, nationwide service without the big wireless bill. Our plans start at just $20 a month.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Morning to the progressives, liberals, Democrats, Republicans, GOPers, independents, all the rest that want to be a part of our tent. Even if you're leaving MAGA and you want to be part of our tent, we're cool with that. You got to do the work, like I've been saying, but we're cool. If you want to join our tent and help bring folks in, we're good with that. We are. Let's be right. Let's be honest. We're good with that. You got to do the work, though. You got to cross the burning sands. All right, guys. A couple of Chew's Views news items on this July 16th, 2025. You've heard by now inflation accelerated in June. Donald Trump. A key gauge released yesterday showed a pickup in inflation during June that many analysts attribute it to the effect of tariffs. The U.S. Consumer Price Index registered an annual increase of 2.7% higher than the 2.4% in May, according to the Labor Department. The jump comes from an aggressive new trade policies, if you want to call it that, and how they hit some goods. While items including apparel, household goods saw different gains, vehicle prices declined. Uncertainty surrounding the eventual impact of levies has kept the Federal Reserve on hold with respect to interest rates. And I think that Jerome Powell knows a hell of a lot more about that than Donald Trump does. And anybody in that regime, not calling it a cabinet or administration, Henry. Big banks are rebounding amid the trade chaos, though. JP Morgan Chase kicked off bank earnings earlier this week, beating their estimates with better than expected revenue from the investment banking side, perhaps signaling a deal-making revival after a period of tariff-related uncertainty. A day earlier, the bank announced the creation of a new unit focusing on custom financing structures across both public and private markets. Its stock traders notched their best ever second quarter. All right, another key Tesla executive is hitting the road, no pun intended. I wonder if he's going to drive away with the Tesla. Tesla's top North American sales executive is no longer at the company, according to the Wall Street Journal, citing anonymous sources. Troy Jones, who worked at the EV giant for more than 15 years, follows a long list of recent departures, including Elon Musk's former top aide, Omir Asfar. It's North American's HR director and AI engineering executives. So the exodus is happening shortly after Tesla's worldwide sales plunge of 13.5% in the second quarter compared to the same time a year ago. And then last but not least, U.S. layoffs target are part of this big buyout that they're providing. And what I mean by that is the U.S. government will lay off fewer workers than planned because so many accepted buyouts and took early retirement. An official revealed in federal court on Monday. Reuters reports that tens of thousands of federal workers voluntarily left positions under the threat of cuts. Office of Personnel Management Senior Advisor Noah Peters said layoff targets were revised down or even eliminated because of voluntary departures and the natural attrition that took place. I think in part this is also people are saying they're just tired of dealing with these crazy fools. I get that. And I don't fault them for taking early leave or taking the buyout because they're looking at quality of life, I'm sure. In many parts they're saying, you know what, I'm done with this. And I will tell you that chronologically, you reach a point, and it might be at 45, it might be at 65, where if you're immersed in something, you reach a point and you say, you know what, I'm done with this garbage. I got to move on. And so kudos to those people for having had some quiet moments. Remember I said last week about getting quiet and having some introspection and saying, I want to stay here to keep the place from collapsing. But at the same time, I also know that I've got to take care of myself. I got to take care of my family. I've got to be mentally sharp to be there for the folks that I love and care about. So I do understand that. Kudos to those federal workers. And let's send out the good vibes that I always ask you guys to send out. I very seldom, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, ask you guys to send out thoughts and prayers. One, because it's overused, and two, not everybody, praying is not their thing. But everybody can send out good vibes, Henry. All of us can send out good vibes to other folk. And shout out to our man Brett, who is our truck driver that was having some medical treatment done last week. So I hope all is going well there and that he's recovering. He didn't get into the details with me, but we want to send good vibes. That's one of the things that we can do. When Michelle Peltier, who was with us last Tuesday, talked about self-care and taking care of ourselves, meanwhile kicking folks in the behind who have their heads stuck in the sand and are enabling this garbage, part of that is we sending out good vibes to other people. We send out good vibes to other people. Guess what happens? Not that this is the reason to do it. It comes back on you in a good way. It just does. And Henry, I got to watch myself when I'm driving sometimes because I'll see some stupid stuff. And so I have to be mindful and go, okay, Richard, just, be patient. Just let it go. But, yeah, guys, send out some good vibes to those folks who are federal workers that are having to make that tough decision that they can move forward in a good, positive way. Some current events, some things that I thought would be good to share with you guys this morning, some of which you may already know, but certainly if you do not, I wanted to bring them to you. And one particularly, my man, Kurt, and I will be talking about when he's here with us in a few minutes. But the DOJ is having a tough time defending some of the policies that Trump is pushing forward. Nearly 2/3 of the Department of Justice lawyers tasked with defending Trump's administration policies have quit. They've quit. So they probably got on their email, not email, their text chain, or they got on their communications chain with the folks over at other departments and has said, hey guys, we can't stick around with this fool. Now, the challenge is the DOJ is straining to defend Trump's policies, and they're leaving. The concern that I have with that is that it's an opportunity for Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, and all these other fools to backfill those positions with their cronies and with these people who are going to defend the indefensible. That's my concern. And, I don't know what the solution is to that. I would love to tell you I had one, but I don't know. My concern is, though, as I said, that as they leave, and I think the number, according to what I read, 69 of the roughly 110 lawyers have voluntarily left since Trump's election or have announced plans to leave, according to a list that was compiled by the former justice lawyers and reviewed by Reuters, which is where I pulled this information from. So, although I understand, well, I guess I could say I can assume I understand what their reasonings are. My concern, and not fear, but my concern is that they will try, meaning those that are still around and those who are running the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 and all that, to put people in those positions that are going to be their lackeys. So that is a concern, but that's one of those things that we've got to pay attention to. Is there an immediate solution to that? I think it's not so much a solution, but it's kind of a reality that we've got to be prepared for. But that's an event. That's a current event item that I wanted to share with you guys. Another one is that I thought kind of curious is the manner in which the House Republicans are going to try to cut Medicare before the end of the year. There's been conversation around many of these cuts that are part of the ugly, disgusting bill are not going to take place or take effect until closer to or after the midterms of 2026. And now there's some conversation that they're going to try to get some of these things to be enacted or to go into place before the end of the year. So we'll have to stay plugged into that, and I'll keep you guys as posted as I can. But the Republican chair of the House Budget Committee said that Republicans are planning more Medicaid and Medicare cuts in the next reconciliation bill before the end of the year. So they may just be making the cuts in terms of what's on paper, but not the actual changes in the allocation. Now, here's the thing, though. This is what everybody has been talking about that I think is critically important. Many of the programs, many of the organizations on a state level that are impacted by the Medicare and Medicaid integration are already looking at how they're going to navigate these next 12 to 18 months. And some of them are already cutting staff. And that part there is why, even though the Republicans are trying to put this ugliness into the lap of Democrats, it's happening now in terms of the cuts. And it's happening in a way that's causing people to either lose hours or lose their jobs because some organizations are having to make those changes now or prepare for those changes right now. So, yet another fallacy that Donald Trump is and knows what he's doing, because if he did, he wouldn't be making cuts in areas or the Republicans, I should say, at large, would be making cuts in areas that are going to and are right now impacting people in a negative way and businesses in a negative way. But there you go. So we are going to take a little bit of an early break, given the fact that we've got a tight morning, and I want to make sure we get as much in as we can. Our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be with us shortly. So we'll take a quick break. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. This is on the Choose Views Credo Mobile text line. How about that? We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, a group of Native American soldiers known as the Code Talkers became silent heroes. The U.S. military faced challenge of secure communications on the battlefield, and these men, primarily from the Navajo tribe, were enlisted to develop an unbreakable code. Using their native language, which had no written alphabet, they transmitted vital messages that were indecipherable to enemy forces. The code proved to be an essential asset, particularly in the Pacific Theater, where it helped the Allies win crucial battles. The Code Talkers' courage and ingenuity saved countless lives and turned the tide of the war. Yet, their contributions remained largely unknown until decades later. The legacy of the Code Talkers stands as a testament to the strength, resilience, and invaluable service of Native Americans during one of America's most devastating conflicts. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops with a high in the mid-90s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Thursday, another slight chance for rain showers, cloudy skies, a high of 74 degrees. Friday, sunny, high of 81. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 77.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Choose Views, 773-763-9278. It's not the Choose Credo Mobile text line. Oh, live radio, y'all. What can I tell you? You know, it's the Credo Mobile phone and text line. And this is Choose Views. So there you go. Let's grab a quick call before we bring Kurt on. Let's go to our good friend Earl in Hyde Park. Good morning, Earl. Welcome to the show.
Hey, buddy. Good morning. Good morning. You know, I'm enjoying your conversations.
Thank you.
And I want to quickly hope that you understand that I have a more negative opinion about the Republican Party than you do. You have to understand that I really think that the Republicans who put together the 2025 and Donald Trump, and they are really cold-blooded. And the reason why I say that is because they really feel that they can promote any lie to their base and the people in there that lean towards them and will continue to support their bad policies. And I'm going to give you an example of why I believe this. Remember when Lewinsky was being pressured by Trump tell lies about Biden being involved in something nefarious in his country. And the phone call said that just imply that Biden is guilty, and I'll have my people go to work on it, and we'll promote it and turn it into a thing.
Yep.
So these people are very cold-blooded. They don't care how many people they hurt, how much pain they hurt. They really feel that they've been lying to folks for so long that they can continue to lie to them and get away with it and get elected.
Yep.
So I understand that you got a good heart, buddy, but not everybody in this world deserves that kind of sympathy that you have for them. And thank you for taking my call, because I know you had your guest getting ready to come on, but there's some really cold-blooded people behind Trump, and they don't care how much pain they have, and they really don't care how many people die.
Yeah. No, I know.
I'm gonna say,
Go ahead, Earl. Sorry.
Okay, quickly. The last thing I'm going to say is, about these floods in Texas.
Yeah.
They knew that these were flood zones.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did not want to spend $50,000 to alert these people.
Yeah.
In these communities where children were. And this just shows you how cold-blooded they are. And they're going to try to spin it back on the Democrats some kind of way. But they have lied to the people that the government is the problem. And they really do believe that the government is the problem. And that is not going to change overnight.
No, it's not. It's going to take us. It's going to take us. Thanks, Earl. I appreciate you getting it out. I understand where you're coming from. Thanks for calling in this morning. So yeah, I hear what Earl's saying, and I'm nice guy on Wednesday. Thursday through Tuesday, I'm not really. But anyhow, you guys know where I come from. Henry, let's hit him with this quick clip before as we bring on our good friend Kurt Mullett. I heard this one. I think you guys will appreciate, and I know Kurt's going to have something to say about it. Let's bring on the O'Brien one.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it.
What a liar. What an almighty, irredeemable, hideous liar. What an appalling act of... I mean, hey, if I was Donald Trump's PR, I'd take liar. Thank God they're calling him a liar. They're not pointing out how incompetent he would have to be to truly know nothing about this event. Liar is a win. That's how his little brain works. That's how it whirs. What's the least thing? What's the thing I can do now that insulates me most from the obvious disaster that I'm caught up in? How does my narcissistic self-obsession deal with this crisis? Okay. I can't say that. I can't defend it. I don't know anything about it. What? What's that you say? Who? What? Who? Where? What? Oh, and I'll shoot the messenger as well. Shoot the messenger. In fact, I'll shoot the messenger first. And then I will... So his brain is working. You can hear it, can't you?
Welcome to the show, our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. And that wasn't Kurt that was narrating that clip. James O'Brien.
No, that wasn't. But hey, he's just a bloody little biscuit soaked in fascism and lies. That's who this boy is. I can do the same thing, but hey.
Man.
I mean, come on.
I saw this and I thought about you. I was like, yeah. I got to leave that in with Kurt. That's such a great way of putting it. Don't you agree? What are your thoughts about that, man?
But, well, I mean, how long have we known this? And it's a great way to describe him. There's many great ways to describe him, most of which we can't use on the radio because, there'd be fines involved in it and things, and I wouldn't be invited back. But, that's just a fact and the reality of the world. And, I got to tell you, Richard, I agree with Earl 100%. I want to shake that man's hand. I feel the same way about him, and this is why I have a hard time right now with anyone who talks about reaching across the aisle and working with these people. They're hideous. They have they have abandoned our country. They're, I receive comments all the time about, how can you hate one man? You must hate the country. If you don't like it, leave. No, I love my country. I hate this dude. Okay, there's a big difference. You all are the ones that hate our country because of your loyalty to him.
Yep.
And you've proved it time and time again. It's all about him and his needs and not the needs of Americans. And you keep on denying whatever facts are presented to you. You twist it and turn it into whatever you need to have it be so that you can make excuses for your loyalty to Donald Trump. And I'm sorry about that rant, but
I'm glad you got it out. I mean, listen, I think if someone is, well, I won't go down that path. I'll just put it this way. I'll stay on point with where you are. I get to hear it all and embrace it all. And on any given day, like I said, today I'm nice, Richard, but tomorrow, I like I said yesterday, or was it Monday? I forgot now. I was just snarky as hell, and that's because I look at stuff like any of this. And what I like about I love the British humor. That's why I knew that this was something that would give you a big smile by having that clip from James O'Brien. But the fact of the matter is, as we talk about facts matter, is that this dude is stinky. He's disgusting. He is an awful. Forget about him being president. He and his regime are awful people. They are doing things that are not helping the country. It's harming the country. And we have to continue talking about that reality. And when we talk about where it's not, see, one of the things that we've got to be careful of, all of us, no matter how upset or passionate or whatever we are about what's happening, we've got to drag the entire Republican Party in all states on all levels. Because if you're a state legislator in any state in the country, let's say in a red state like yours in Indiana, and you don't recognize that the people that elected you are going to get hurt by what this current regime is doing, it's your job as a state elected official in Indiana or in Arkansas to stand up for them. So when they don't stand up, they're equally culpable. And to that end, Kurt, what I will say about this whole conversation is it's also Republican individuals who vote for this garbage. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones, and you know it better than most because you're in a red state and a red community, they're the ones that are still supporting this garbage. So I got no love for reaching across the aisle, which is why yesterday when I was talking with Representative Krishnamurthy, I said, your colleagues are the ones on the left, not the ones on the right. And I tried to, make it clear to him, stop calling them my colleagues and tell your folk to stop using because they don't care about you. So, yeah, I'm equally passionate. I just use different words.
Yeah. And I made a reel earlier this week, or maybe last week, saying, here's the truth of it. Democrats, I'm not fighting for just Democrats when I speak out against this guy. I'm fighting for all of us, whether you believe me or not. Okay, I'm fighting for American citizens because I know the facts and the truth behind what is going on and how it will not affect just us libs. Yep. It will affect every single one of us in this country. And just because you don't know that, I can't help you out with that, okay? But I'm not fighting just for liberals. I'm not like MAGA. I'm not wanting to destroy the libs. I'm not, do I want MAGA to go away? Absolutely. But I'm fighting for everyone. I'm fighting for America because I love my country. I don't love a guy.
Nope. Listen.
Wow. I mean, come on. Where are your crayons? Can I draw it out for you?
Hey, Kurt.
I'll use the red one if you want me to. I mean,
check this one out. When you said that, it made me think back to something that we've talked about before. Listen, if Kurt and I stayed in class and stayed after class for the extra study work and all that. And you guys, you MAGAs and GOPers and all the rest decided that you weren't going to. Don't be upset with us because you had the same opportunity to stay after class for a little bit of extra learning. Y'all chose to go and do something else. Y'all meaning those that are MAGA and GOP, because I'm putting them in the same sentence from now until forever. That's on you. I love our good friend Sarah Jones from the Daily wrote a really great article, and I'll send it to you. But let me read the title, and this lines up real nicely with what you're talking about. The title of the article is, "Whose Side Are You On? Dems ask Republicans to block the release of the Epstein files." And you probably saw that Representative Ro Khanna offered an amendment to release the Epstein files.
Oh, yeah.
And now the big news story, and you this is what O'Brien was kind of talking about, but you've definitely leaned into it as well, is how suddenly Republicans, not only are they saying that the files don't exist, they're a lie, they were written by Obama and Hillary, but now they're saying that now the amendment to bring them out is being squashed by the Republicans. They lined up like lapdogs to prevent this information from coming out.
Let's go through this little timeline just about this particular subject, okay?
Okay.
Back in February, Pam Bondi sent a letter to Kash Patel asking for transparency about the Epstein files, and she released the first phase of it. There's a link. I've shared it. You could read the letter. You can read all the things that were shared and all of that, okay? She did that. Then she went on TV and said, the files are sitting right on my desk. They're right here. She said that on national television. I didn't see it, but I've seen enough clips and things that, she said that. Then we go forward, and I'm skipping over a lot, to where we're saying, well, they don't really exist, and we're not going to, they're not here, and there is no such thing as the Epstein files. Those were just a bunch of papers that she was talking about, that were, not really the Epstein files. I mean, Caroline Leavitt and they all were saying that, and Pam Bondi sat there with, who was it, Rubio and Trump, and made that comment when Trump said, why, are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, we are. Okay, we will continue to do this. In fact, we're going to talk about it more now. So, and then we jump forward to where we have the House Rules Committee that votes on not releasing the Epstein files. Now, wait a minute. Just a few days ago, you guys said they didn't exist. Now we're having the Rules Committee say we're not going to release them. And then we bring it to the Senate and have a vote on it. I'm sorry. I know I'm getting loud and I need to calm down. But, seriously, are people really this stupid? Are people really this stupid? They're going to sit there and listen to this and believe this? Because, see, here's the problem. They're not hearing the same things we are because they're watching Fox News, and Fox News doesn't present all of this like that. They talk about, well, if he was listed in the Epstein files, why didn't Joe Biden release them?
Yeah.
Well okay.
So here's the thing, and that quick edited timeline shed some additional light on this, and I know that by design you just wanted to kind of cut to the chase about it's not the exact timeline, or if it's list. She said list versus files sitting on her desk. What it is that the Republicans, first of all, they don't have their story together. So let's just go there. They don't have their story together. And the minute they get called on it by a colleague who has access to a lot of information, meaning Representative Ro Khanna, they all lined up and said, we've got to just deny it. It doesn't exist. And as long as we can run that play out, as long as we can continue to do sort of the shadow boxing that it doesn't exist, and we can buy ourselves some time and get closer to the midterms, then we're good. That's all they're thinking about. That's how they're playing this. That's why the Rules Committee lined up and they said no to Ro Khanna's offered amendment. And it was essentially to release them in the next 30 days. I said this last Saturday. You probably heard me talk about this on Monday, and that is, it's not about this is the MAGA folks that are upset that the files are not being released. They're not upset because they're not being released and that they want truth. They're upset because they were under the belief or the foolishness that the files had information on you, me, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden, and the list goes on, all Democrats who were all, awful people. That's what they wanted to be able to see to justify the craziness, to your point about them being in a cult. They wanted to be able to justify that by saying, look at all these awful Democrats. The fact that they can't do that is what's got them really ticked off. It's not because they want truth. It's because they wanted to have yet another bunch of BS to talk about. So MAGA's upset about that. Don't be fooled, America. They're not upset because that the files, quote, aren't being released. That's what they're really upset about. They wanted to go after Democrats. Guys.
Well, yeah. Again, this is their whole mantra that owning the libs. This is their whole thing. That's why they love the guy so much, because they think that everything that he is doing, and a lot of it has, but everything he is doing is destruction to the liberal woke agenda. Whatever that means. Okay, this is their whole thing. And see, here's the difference between what they're doing and what we are doing. I don't care who's in the list. I can almost guarantee you for sure there are Democrats in there. In fact, I'll bet you 100%, and I have no proof, that Bill Clinton is on that list, okay, because he was included in the flight logs.
Right.
And the flight logs were released during the Maxwell trials, okay? So we know a lot of information already. That's where we found out about
Prince Andrew, if we get it right.
Prince Andrew. That's where we find out about that, was in the Maxwell case. That's where we find out that there was files that existed, okay? That's where all of this comes from. We don't care who's in there. We know, though, that Jeffrey Epstein ran a sex trafficking, pedophile, whatever you want to call this, okay? Whatever you want to call his whole thing. We understand that this was his world, and that Maxwell went out and she recruited girls, and that they had, sex orgies and all these things. We understand that's who they are, okay? This is what we want exposed. We want to know who was involved in this. Okay, who are the people that were involved in this? Because we need to know, as a nation and as a country, who these people are.
Particularly,
Democrats don't care.
Particularly if
Republicans
are going to be at offices of this height and importance. That's the reason why.
Absolutely.
That's the real core of this. So I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
Right. No, but what the Republicans are doing, just like this House Rules Committee, the 7 people that voted on this, they are all white people. They are all Christian nationalists or self-proclaimed Christians. And the GOP, and I've made some memes and other things, and now I've seen a lot of people, have come out with, the GOP now stands for Guardians of Pedophiles, because that's what they are doing, okay? So these self-proclaimed Christians who have for years called us Democrats pedophiles, okay, consistently has bashed our trans community, our LGBTQ community, has attacked our Latino community, our color, everyone that is not white and looks like them, they have attacked and called them a pedophile. And here we are. The truth is coming out. Who are guarding and protecting pedophiles? The Republican Party.
Listen,
that's the facts, okay?
The thing that I don't want you guys to have missed that Kurt just said, and that's this. He has this great meme, and that's who the GOP is now. They've proven it. They are the guardians of pedophiles. GOP stands for guardian of pedophiles, because literally with this vote, that's what they did. They decided to guard, and they didn't. They're not. And that, listen, let's be honest here. This is just being straight line. We don't know who is it that committed the acts of pedophilia. But we know.
Nor do we care.
Right, because what it ultimately comes, they're guarding those who are part of this process.
Exactly. Exactly. If you're so big on protecting our children, why are you protecting the people that are attacking and taking advantage of our children? Why are you doing that? I mean, Richard, this is it's absolutely crazy. And this is something that we cannot let go.
No,
there are so many things that have happened in the past that we have been silent about, but we cannot let go.
No. I'll be really ticked off. And I hope I don't have to be. If because of this vote, that there's a no vote, that they, meaning the Democratic folks, walk away from this, or get, there's yet another distraction. Because see, here's what I want to warn everybody of, and I don't think the Dems are going to let go of this one because they realize how much fire is burning here. But I think that we're going to see something happen on an international scale. There's going to be some distraction that the administration is going to try to throw out. Watch this. Pay as we say, pay attention, you guys. There's going to be a distraction. The more that this fire keeps blazing up, and I shouldn't use that analogy given that we got real fires, but the more that this story keeps, you always think, God, I shouldn't have said that. But so I'm going to take that back. Well, the more that this craziness continues to do what it's doing, watch for the distraction. You and I, Kurt, both know there's a distraction that's going to come of some sort. That's one of the reasons why I think they're having this conversation around providing a support for Ukraine right now. It's to change the narrative because they know that this narrative is really stinky. One of the things that you posted also that I got to let everybody know. See, I got to let people know about the stuff that you put out because in the event that somebody out there didn't catch it, yes, Guardians of Pedophiles is one, and the other one is Pedo Largo, Florida. not Mar-a-Lago. Kurt's got another one out there, guys. It's called Pedo Largo, Florida. That was
it's just a picture of his home, and I just simply put Pedo Largo, Florida, because that's what it should be known by now. So
that's right.
And I appreciate that because right now on Instagram they're shadow banning a lot of content out there. I've talked to a couple different creators. I've been going through it for the last couple weeks. So there's changes in the Instagram algorithms to where people are not, and for those who don't know that, like when I share a post of your guest or when I'm going to be on your show or whatever, I may have a normal post that can get 10,000 views in a couple days. When I put a post out that advertises your show or promotes myself, like the one I put out yesterday, it got just over 1,000 views and like 30-some likes. That's what shadow banning is. They don't put the stuff out there like that. They don't, want to do that. So, and I know you're in a rush today, but one of the things I wanted to bring up, all this noise and all this distraction that's going on, one of the things that has happened in the background, which there are many things, okay, that people are not aware of, is what the CFPB just recently did with a case that was against the Navy Federal Credit Union, where under the Biden administration they agreed to a settlement with members of the Navy Federal Credit Union,
right,
and for an $80 million repayback from overdraft fees and all of these things that they were illegally doing. And they admitted to it and said that, okay, we're fine with it. Well, it's been overturned in reverse.
Yep.
And who is in charge of the CFPB? Russ Vaughn.
Yep.
One of the architects of Project 2025. So a lot of people don't know this, but this is just another example of how this administration is just flat out standing there. He sits there and says things like, I'm the greatest president for veterans. I've done more for veterans than any other president has in the history. Bull. Yeah, you've done more things for veterans. You've done more harmful things to veterans than any other president. And this is just another example.
Yeah, I mean, and let me grab the baton from you on that, so you guys understand this. And Kurt, I appreciate you bringing that to the table. This issue is a big one, and it's another one that's sort of slid underneath, the radar. Mm-hmm. The Biden administration had done the right thing for veterans, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the case against the Navy Federal Credit Union had found that there was some stinkiness going on, and to the tune of $80 million, they were ordered to pay in consumer redress is the wording that when I read the article, and that was on its way down the path to happening. And the Trump administration, and I think there was also an additional civil penalty that was supposed to be paid as well, some $15 million.
Yeah, there was a $15 million fine. It was $95 million, I believe, was the total settlement.
But what happened was MAGA and Republicans and GOP and trolls who like to come after folks like Kurt and me for speaking the truth. Your boy got in the middle of this and mucked it up. And now, to Kurt's point, this dude that runs around and his regime talking about how much they love the military and how much they love the soldiers and we're patriots. They screwed people who had already gotten screwed. And when President Biden did the work to fix it, now, once again, your boy messed it up. So there, take that, MAGA. And so stop running around telling a lie to yourself. Wake the hell up and recognize that this guy is disgusting. He's awful. His regime is just the same. They're a bunch of liars, and they need to go. How about that, Earl?
Exactly. This is $80 million that he just took away from veterans and their families because you cannot belong to Navy Federal Credit Union unless you're tied to the military in some way, okay?
That's right.
So this is a direct effect on those people.
Man, well,
and why is this being done? To protect corporate America and to protect, I don't know who's in charge of Navy Federal Credit Union. I don't care.
It doesn't matter. We were on a path.
I guarantee you there's a tie somewhere.
We were on a path to help folks who needed something to be done for them, and this dude got in and mucked it up. So
And Richard, this is an example. We heard the whole time Biden was in office. He's weaponized the DOJ. This is weaponizing the DOJ or weaponizing an agency, I should say.
Right.
Okay? This is what. Yeah.
No. Good point though, because Russell Vought, if you don't know who he is, look him up.
Yeah.
I played a clip on it was last Friday when Karen came on about what he's doing behind the scenes to screw people over, and he needs to be outed every day because he's doing a lot behind the scenes to screw people over. And
he is an evil man. I mean, he is the guy that believes that the executive position in this country should be able to have the authority like a king.
Yeah,
I mean that's
And for all for our women out there that we all respect and love, he has no care for you. He has no respect for you. He is the Handmaid's Tale on steroids when it comes to women. So
absolutely,
I don't know if Kurt and I,
Stephen Miller with glasses.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if Kurt and I fixed anything today, but I will tell you this: it's great to have him on. Hoosier Blue 63, my man Kurt Mullett, just doing the work and making sure that people are plugged in and staying aware of what's happening. So thanks for being with us again, man.
Man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I hope you have a great day. And hey, I love you, Earl.
Right on, Kurt. Have a good day, man. We'll talk next week.
Take care, Richard. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Boy, can we fill up a half an hour? Shout out to Earl, because Earl's like, they're stinky. I don't like them. And I agree. I completely agree. Thanks to Kurt for being with us this morning. Wow. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-921-8189. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-921-8189. 800-921-8189. 800-921-8189.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Saturday, July 19th at 2 p.m., Illinois Congressman Brad Schneider will be hosting a town hall in Lake Forest. A specific address in Lake Forest will be emailed to you after registration. Register at schneider.house.gov/events. Monday, August 4th at 3 p.m., the Chicago Council on Global Affairs presents a bipartisan conversation with Congressman Darren LaHood and Mike Quigley. They'll discuss the current state of global affairs and their local implications. For example, how are global issues like trade disruptions, migration, and the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East affecting Chicago and Illinois? Marianne Ahern of NBC5 Chicago will moderate the discussion. Council members can register to attend in person or to watch the live stream. Non-members can register to watch the live stream. Visit globalaffairs.org/events.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit in order to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
AP News, I'm Mike Hempen. The Pentagon says it's ending the deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops in Los Angeles. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass says the Trump administration used the troops as props.
We are a city of 500 square miles. We had problems in about 2 square miles. It lasted for a couple of days. I initiated a curfew. We have had no problems for weeks. So why were they here? It is a misuse of the men and women who serve our country.
The audio courtesy of ABC7 Los Angeles. Roughly 4,000 National Guard soldiers and 700 Marines have been in the city since early June, dealing with protests over President Trump's immigration crackdown. Adelita Grijalva has won the Democratic primary for a southern Arizona U.S. House seat long held by her father.
Woo-hoo! Thank you. And I want to thank my comadre campaign chair. Seriously, some boosters from Senator Mark Kelly and Gabby Gifford. Senator Gallego, who called me like 10 minutes ago and said congratulations. I'm like, I haven't called it. So, yeah. And Senator Bernie Sanders.
That audio courtesy of KOLD 13 News. Grijalva will face Daniel Gutierrez, who won the GOP primary in a September 23rd special election. 20 Palestinians have died in the crush of a crowd at a food distribution site run by an Israeli-backed American organization in the Gaza Strip. That's according to the Gaza Humanitarian Fund. European diplomats say the United Kingdom, France, and Germany have agreed to restore tough UN sanctions on Iran by the end of August if there has been no concrete progress on a nuclear deal. This is AP News. Caitlin Clark continues to captivate North American sports fans.
Caitlin Clark is the undisputed face of women's basketball.
I don't want to say I get used to it, but to an extent, like you do.
She's also a second-year pro trying to establish herself.
Everybody else has expectations of you, but at the end of the day, like, there's no higher expectation than what I have of myself.
The 23-year-old Fever guard tells the AP she's embracing her status.
You just accept that's how it's going to be. People are going to criticize you. People are going to praise you.
The latest stop on Clark's nationwide tour was TD Garden, home of the 18-time NBA champion Celtics.
I'm a Pacers fan. I just want to make that clear as well.
Clark's story has made a global impact.
Growing up, I always played sports, and I wish that there was a role model like Caitlin Clark. She's honestly like my hero.
29-year-old Jamie traveled from Toronto after undergoing a 7-hour surgery to remove a 10.3-centimeter cancerous tumor. Gethin Coolbaugh, Boston.
I'm Mike Hempen, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops with a high in the mid-90s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Thursday, another slight chance for rain showers, cloudy skies, a high of 74 degrees. Friday, sunny, high of 81. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 79.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them.
I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
And take it away I shall. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls and talking to Illinois State Rep Ann Williams. David Atkins, Washington Monthly contributing writer, and his latest piece is the GOP's cruel budget and the authoritarianism behind the big, beautiful bill. Spencer Critchley, author of The Patriots of Two Nations and host of the Dastardly Cleverness in the Service of Good podcast. That's Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive, 2 to 5, here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by guest co-host Soli Santos, and their guests are Will Klinger of the Famous Brothers. The Monkees Crevice, West Virginia group offers classic bluegrass harmony with an original comic twist. There you go. Jess Piper will also be joining Patty, the Dirt Road Dem and executive director of Blue Missouri, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And tomorrow you want to join us, we have Lubia Gretchen Shirley, founder of and CEO of Vote Mama. Laura Morrison Fritchell will be with us as the executive director of the Illinois Head Start Association. So we may have another special guest joining us tomorrow as well. So there you go, guys. Busy, busy, busy. Lots of things happening, and we will keep you posted. Speaking of lots of things happening and people that are getting the work done, as I say, have a chance to this morning to talk with one of our local leaders, one of our local county board commissioners from the 15th District, and also someone that's thrown their hat in the ring for this race for Congress. Welcome to the show this morning, County Board Commissioner Kevin Morrison. Good morning, Kevin, and welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me today.
What's going on, man? Running for Congress now.
Taking no breaks over here and working hard.
That's what you got to do. Well, we're happy to have you on the show this morning and really glad that you could set out a little bit of time to be with us this morning. Take a moment, as I do with every guest that's new to the show, let folks know a little bit about your background. Let folks know about Kevin Morrison, about your work as a county board commissioner.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm been serving on the county board now since 2018. When I ran that campaign, I ran against the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, the guy who gave Illinois' delegates to Donald Trump in 2016. I was able to flip that district blue for the first time in history, becoming Cook County's youngest and first openly LGBT county commissioner at the time. I have been proud to serve and help expand programs and policies that help county residents do better. I'm an Elk Grove Village native. I spearheaded the creation of Cook County's Equity Department, the expansion of language access on our ballot, and the creation of our brand new Department of Mental and Behavioral Health. And all I strive to do in my life is make this world a little bit better for everyone else.
And listen, that's it goes back to a phrase that my mother used to use, Kevin, and that is that leftovers can make a great meal. What do I mean by leftovers? You and I are not leftovers, but what we do take on is making this place a little bit better incrementally. And if we do a little bit, those leftovers make a great meal. And I appreciate you putting it that way, just doing a little bit at a time to make things a little bit better for us. And this time, that kind of leadership that you're representing definitely is important and more than needed. What's it like, Kevin, being a county board commissioner? Tell us a little bit about your day. And I've had other commissioners on, but talk to it from your perspective.
I mean, it's been an honor of a lifetime. Since I was 10 years old, I would tell my mother, who's my biggest inspiration in my life, that when I grew up, all I wanted to do was help fix things and help fix the issues that I saw growing up that still impacted communities across the county and across the country. And there is no simple way to explain what a normal day for a county commissioner is. What I could tell you is I've strived to go above and beyond, and I find it sometimes puzzling that my colleagues still like me because I think I've made them all work just a little bit harder. What I think our typical day is reaching our really large communities. I represent 325,000 people. So having top-of-the-line constituent services, getting information out to the public, helping folks understand what county government is responsible for. And then, of course, when we have our typical board meetings, it's going in and introducing policy, ordinances, resolutions, talking with our colleagues to get things through passage. But in the end of the day, when we're in charge of healthcare, public safety, and so many other critical things like our Cook County Forest Preserves, there's a lot on our plates and a lot of responsibilities, and it's important to take these positions seriously.
Yeah, and we happen to have, and thank you for sharing that with us, Kevin. We happen to have one of the best, if not the best, forest preserve and county systems in the country. And I've been blessed to have President Preckwinkle on from Cook County Board President Preckwinkle on. That's a lot to say sometimes. And she is proudly has talked about what our forest preserve systems are all about. We've had other representatives that talk about the nature aspect of it. And this is part of your purview. Talk a little bit about what that means to you to have to represent such a large literal body of land and what it means to the citizens of the community that you represent.
Well, our Forest Preserve District is one of the oldest in the entire nation, and it's one of the largest with over 80,000 square acres of forest preserve protected. And then, us taking on, getting rid of invasive species and returning native plants to our forest preserves is crucial for our biodiversity, to keeping, as we are combating climate change, us at least being a step ahead of other communities, because when you invest in native plants, when you invest in green spaces, not only does it keep our environment and our health safe, but also it has a huge impact on our mental health. Taking some time out in the forest reserves can be one of the healing things you choose to do any day.
I got to tell you, are you still there, Kevin?
I am, yeah.
Okay, good. No, what you just said about taking some time and going to the forest preserve, that is something that Ms. Preckwinkle had said and others have said. It is obviously visually beautiful and all the aspects that come with that, but just taking some time and appreciating the forest preserves that we have throughout the region. You've also really been an advocate as part of what you do in making sure that technology and innovation is integral in the work that you do and how we improve our county systems. Talk a little bit about that if you can.
Yeah, so I've been chairman of the Technology and Innovation Committee at Cook County for the last several years. It has been an honor serving in that capacity and really striving to make sure that all of our information technologies, which are some of the largest contracts that come before our board, I push to make all the separately elected bodies within Cook County government have to come forward on a quarterly basis to provide what big technology contracts come their way so that we have transparency for the taxpaying members of Cook County. And it has been a success in getting more of these separately elected bodies to the table and ensuring that we could all work together to save taxpayer dollars and increase transparency for our residents.
Yeah, and one of the things that the key word that you use there is transparency, and that's one of the things that so many people are requesting on a local level with politics, regional and national, and you guys have really done with your leadership in that chairman's role to make sure that that's part of what people are getting in the community. So thank you for that. Talk a little bit about, you've also leaned in really with the emergency management and regional security part of of the commissionership. Talk a litlittle bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I hold 4 chairmanships as a county commissioner. As chairing that, especially as scientists are saying that potentially Tornado Alley has now expanded to include the Cook County area. One of the things I pushed for was creating a $100 million renewing disaster relief fund that renews on an annual basis based on the dividends Cook County brings in, not on a single taxpayer dollar, but is there for the time of needs of our communities when we're dealing with increasing risks of tornadoes and floods.
So you want to be one of those guys that's prepared because you know that historically things do happen. And rather than getting caught short and running off to the Caribbean or running off to Europe or putting your head in the sand or waiting 4 or 5 days to release funds and support, you'd rather be on the front end of being prepared and using history and technology and transparency to say, hey, guys, let's do this a different way.
You know, I'm never going to jump on a plane and head to better weather during people's times of need. Yes, I'm going to listen to my superiors when they're recommending, you know, staying in place or, you know, finding safe space, but I'm always going to be running towards the problem to trying to find solutions and not away.
There you go. There you go. I was being a little snarky and a little sarcastic, but you
I know where you were going.
I handed the baton. I use this phrase a lot. I used to run relays and run track and field, so I always use this. But I handed the baton off to you, and you took it home. So there you go. I really got to ask you this question. And we're talking with candidate for Congress as well as Cook County Board Commissioner from the 15th District, Kevin Morrison. So here's that big question. Why did you jump into this race? What's driving you? I know it's not just one thing, but and you've talked about some of your beliefs and some of the things that you shared over time and your connection with your mother and how she's been an influence. But what was it in you in that quiet moment where you said, I want to run for this particular seat in Congress?
You know, I would say a great part of it was as I was knocking doors in the lead up to the April 1st election, what I kept hearing time and time again from voters was that they felt like there was a void in Congress of people who actually understand the real lived issues of regular people on the ground and who are leading with heart and fighting for them. And for me, I'm not in this for a title. I'm not in it for notoriety or fame or fortune. I'm in it because all I've ever cared about is helping positively impact the lives of the people around me and making our communities better and safer for all and allowing people, everyone, a chance to get ahead. And, you know, for me, this race, I have been a unique enigma within the political world. I'm not someone who burns bridges, calls bad blood, holds grudges. And I'm someone who, oddly enough, with the least likely of allies, have been able to find common ground and solutions and get things to the finish line to help our shared residents do better. And that is unique within our politics and something Congress is desperately needing.
Yeah, and we're hearing that so much right now, and we know the conversation. This is not new to any of us that pay attention to this or even dabble our toe into it. But one of the things that you've been really successful at, from everything that I've been reading and following about you, is as you've been going through the 8th District and making your way around in terms of the congressional race, you're seeing more and more people that are saying, yes, we need connectivity. We need to be coming together. And talk a little bit about that and how that's keeping you motivated to go forward in this race.
I'm getting messages from moms talking about how excited their high school students are and how they want to get involved in our race and are there volunteer opportunities. The first week I launched my campaign, my phone constructively blew up and started crashing with the calls, texts, and messages I was receiving on all the apps that I have. For me, I never thought I could inspire someone else, being that bullied kid growing up in the northwest suburbs. This was not the safest place for LGBTQ youth, back over a decade ago. And we've continuously seen it become more welcoming. And, for me, I want to be a voice for everyone. I want to give time. I've had an open door policy as a county commissioner. I would do the same as a congressperson. I want to hear about the real issues that folks are dealing with in every single community, and everyone deserves time and space to share that.
And I think more and more people, and thank you for sharing that, more and more people are recognizing that when you rebuff folks from their ability to speak about their concerns, you essentially lose them. And as a person that's in a leadership role, particularly an elected official, that's just no longer acceptable, no matter where you sit in terms of the aisle you're on or in, but more importantly, the commitments that you made to the people that have voted for you. Kevin, so one of the questions, that's not so much a question, it's more of a statement. You've had some significant endorsements. A lot of people on a state level have come out and said, this is a guy that I want to get behind and endorse for your campaign for Congress. What does that feel like? What's that like to have folks that are your colleagues that you worked with indirectly or directly come out on your side and say, I'm down with Kevin?
And it's an honor, and it makes me feel that people are seeing the work and that they see the heart that I lead with. I feel like during this campaign, it's been a mixture of feeling incredibly humbled, excited, and also a little bit terrified.
I'm laughing with you. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. But go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Endorsements are one thing. I'm excited that we're nearing the 100 mark on endorsements. I'm excited to see the coalition of support, not just from elected officials and people really involved in our communities, but just from everyday folks here on the ground who are excited and ready for some change. And it would be a lie if I said that there was no pressure on my shoulders, but I feel like I'm on a mission right now, and I feel hopeful that we can get through this March primary, get through November, and hopefully get Congress functioning again.
Yeah, man, because right now, the Congress is not, it's not, this, and I'm saying something that you already know, but I have to say it. It's not Congress at large that's not functioning. It's the Republicans in Congress that are not functioning. There might be some Democrats that every now and again lose their brain and forget where they came from. But by and large, I mean, just recently with this ugly bill, we stayed in alignment. We voted as we were supposed to on the House side, and we did on the Senate side. So that's a bright spot. But I know that you want to be able to move the needle and get some seats, not just here in Illinois, but throughout the country, so that we as a country federally can navigate things better. And then that has its impact, that domino impact or effect on the states. And I know that you've really been a big proponent of not just winning your seat, but helping others as best you can win other seats. Talk about that if you can as we wrap up.
I mean, that's absolutely correct. And you know what has inspired me in this moment is seeing so many people step up, not only to run for office, but in local protests. Tomorrow on July 17th, we're going to have another protest in Arlington Heights with the Indivisible Elk Grove group in memory of the work of John Lewis, someone who was fighting in Selma and got beaten by the police, trying to fight for our civil rights and civil liberties. And right now, our Constitution is under threat. And so it is exciting to see a place like Arlington Heights where the Supreme Court made it so that race-neutral policies no longer had to meet heightened scrutiny when they had a discriminatory effect. And we had over 6,300 people in the streets in Arlington Heights for the No Kings protest. Tomorrow, we are standing up in memory of the legacy of John Lewis, and especially when this administration is fighting against DEI, we need more folks not only to take to the streets, but run for office so that we have better leadership everywhere. And again, that's tomorrow in Arlington Heights at North Park School, which is at Arlington Heights Road in Eastman. I hope you'll join me there. I I hope you'll follow my campaign at KevinMorrisonForCongress.com, and we all just collectively need to keep our voices loud in this moment.
Absolutely. Kevin, thank you, Commissioner Kevin Morrison. I have to give you your due and your respect, but I know that you have been so great to be in this fight and keep up the stay on top of the issues and keep up the energy, which is so important right now. And we appreciate you taking time. One more time, let folks know how they can find you, how they can follow you, how they can get involved with you as a commissioner, but also in your work toward the campaign.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm running a scrappy grassroots campaign. I'm not individually wealthy like some of my opponents in this race. Every few dollars you can send my way will help us build, especially as we grow our team going into August petitions. But please visit me at KevinMorrisonForCongress.com. I'm on all social media. Give me a like and a follow, and I hope I can earn your support.
Very well. Kevin Morrison, thank you for being with us this morning. We appreciate you. We appreciate your hard work, and we will talk with you again soon. Sound good?
Sounds great. Talk to you soon. Good morning, everyone out there. Keep safe and healthy.
Yeah, that's right. All right, be well. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Energy. Could you feel it? I think he's fired up a little bit and ready to go, as former President Obama would say. Kevin Morrison, Cook County Board Commissioner, 15th District, and he's also running for Congress in the 8th Congressional District. So there you go. We got a bench, y'all. We have a bench like nobody's business, not just here in the state of Illinois, but throughout the rest of the country. And I am very proud about that. That's one of the things that keeps me motivated and keeps me fired up is the bench that we have. And I know that we have a lot. See, going back to something that Earl said when he called in early and something that Kurt said, There's a bunch of stinky GOPers right now. There's just no other way of putting it. They don't get the soft language unless they do right. They don't get the nice language unless they do right. There's a bunch of stinky GOPers out there voting to protect pedophiles, as Kurt Mullett is calling them. But when you have somebody like Kevin Morrison who's out there fighting, a member of the LGBT community, a member that's fighting for rights for everybody. You see how he made reference to John Lewis. He knows the history. That's when it gives you a little bit of a light to stay motivated and stay excited. And that's some of the things that I try to do here with Choose Views is point out those things that are ugly and nasty and disgusting, but also, look to the future and look to the ways in which we can make things happen as we go forward. We are going to take a little bit of an early break because we have another guest that I can't wait to chat with in a moment. But this is, of course, Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Moment in Labor. When Serena Williams won her title at the Tennis Grand Slam tournament, we know she gets the same prize money as her male counterpart. However, prior to 1973, that wasn't always the case. When Billie Jean King captured her first Wimbledon title in 1966, she was surprised to find out that the winner of the men's tournament received £2,000, while she only received £750. After being unable to find any tournaments for women, King and 8 other women formed their own tournament, the Virginia Slims Invitational, where each woman was paid $1 before posing for the famous picture of them each holding up their dollar, with the caption, "Contract Pros." While the move was bold, the pay discrepancies continued. King threatened to boycott the 1973 U.S. Open unless the women were paid the same as the men. Thanks to a grant from Band Deodorant, both the men and women's singles would take home $25,000. Despite the progress at the U.S. Open, it wouldn't be until 1984 that the Australian Open would execute equal pay, followed by the French Open in 2006, and finally Wimbledon in 2007. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're fighting for your rights.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners, and we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is MorreLawOffice.com. That's Morre spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops with a high in the mid-90s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Thursday, another slight chance for rain showers, cloudy skies, a high of 74 degrees. Friday, sunny, high of 81. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 79.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressive, welcome back to the show. Great to have Kevin Morrison with us this morning, as well as our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. And as we keep the Choose Views train rolling, we have, as I've said so many times, we have the blessing and the privilege to interview some really, really cool people. And every now and again, we get to have another professor on with us, which always just makes me smile. With us this morning is another of those professorial ones that is also a computer scientist and a psychologist. But I got to tell you, as we welcome to the show Jennifer Golbeck, one of my most, I guess I should say, cool things that I learned and found out is, I'll start off by saying this: she is a golden retrievers lover. How about that? Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you with us. Another cool thing about her that you guys have got to check out, and Jen, I got to say this to you: your I'm going to call it an iconic photograph of you standing after this trip that you made to Los Angeles during what's going on with the craziness there. There's this incredibly wonderful photograph of you standing with all of your press gear on, body armor, headgear, and 2 cameras as you are getting ready to do your thing. And I it's just I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I saw it the other day and I thought, now that's a person that's ready to take on the world.
I think I'll never look cooler than I look in that picture.
So you know which one I'm talking about then.
I do, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Jennifer Golbeck, welcome to Choose Views, and thank you for being with us this morning. Take a moment. You've got such an incredible biography and such a wonderful background, and we'll get into some topics in a moment, but take a moment and share with our listeners a little bit about you and your background and some of the broad-based work that you're doing right now.
Yeah, so I will say I'm a Chicago native. I grew up in Crystal Lake, and I went to the University of Chicago for my undergrad and master's. So I lived there until I was 24, I guess. And, yeah, I'm a computer scientist, but, I was doing this right as social media was starting to become a thing. I started working my PhD in 2001, so Friendster kind of existed then. The elder millennials will know what that is. And so I was doing work on artificial intelligence and computer science, but also paying attention to these emerging social spaces online. And so my whole career has really been focused on that. And as I grew up, I got concerned about all of the kind of antisocial things that were coming out of social media, which has also had some really positive social consequences. And as a result, I kind of got pulled into studying kind of extreme and radical things and the process of radicalization online. And so that's kind of how I ended up taking the psychology track, because I was interested in what makes people do this? What makes people radicalize, start believing in conspiracies, spreading misinformation? And that has now landed me in this place where I do some journalism in addition to being a professor, and I do a lot of work studying the far right and extremist groups online.
Well, and you've done some great work, and so let me add that to the wording. But one of the things that I was really curious about, and I'm sure that our listeners will be too, is you really wanted to get a better understanding of like how personality traits merge up with political preferences and how that then gets expounded, I guess would be, or maybe expanded is a better word, through the use of social media. Talk a little bit about that. And I know that, well, I'll shut up and let you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we know from like psychological research that there are personality traits that make people more likely to engage in certain behaviors. So there's one of my favorite studies in this space looks at people who like to troll online. And for people who like trolling, do they have certain personality traits? And they very strikingly score high on a thing that we call the dark tetrad, which is such a good name, right? One of these fun academic terms. And the dark tetrad is 4 personality traits: sadism, psychopathy, so you don't really have any empathy, narcissism, you want a lot of attention on yourself, and then a thing we call Machiavellianism, which is the end justifies the means, right? So you're kind of willing to do anything to get people to pay attention to you, to hurt their feelings. You don't really care that they feel bad, which of course sounds exactly like what a troll does, right? Mm-hmm. I was interested, having looked at these far right spaces, if that would be something that we would see in kind of extreme conservatives, far-right MAGA supporters, because they love trolling. And kind of the whole heart of the MAGA movement is based on trolling. I've gone to CPAC. I've interviewed tons of people at Trump rallies, and they kind of say this, right? We love to own the libs. We love to troll the other side. And so I did this study that just came out where we just asked people who they voted for, and then we measured how much do you like trolling? How sadistic are you? There's a psychological measure for this. And it turns out that just Trump voters in general scored about 30% higher on this sadism scale than people who voted for Harris. And so, it's an initial result, but it does suggest that there's something about not having a lot of empathy or not having as much empathy if you're a Trump voter than a Harris voter. And of course, we can kind of see that in the issues, but I think it's interesting to see that play out on like very focused academic research levels,
One of the things that came to my mind is one previous guest that I had on is one of our regular contributors, Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63, said something. He said, I'm not trying to do anything to hurt folks that are on the right or that may not be supportive of progressive liberal democratic thought processes and policies. I'm trying to help folk. And when you talk about the lack of empathy, left, right, or, from your assessment, it seems as though, and this may be somewhat common sense, it seems as though right now on a national level, there is a one movement that's trying to hurt folk, and there's another movement that's trying to help folk. Now, some on the hurt group might say, well, we're trying to help the country because of this, 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 and this. And then, you're not helping the country because you guys are doing things to tear the country down. What do you, when you do an analysis and you look at this from a psychologist perspective, and then somewhat of a sociologist, what do you ever see an integration between those who don't have that empathy and those that are really harmful people to the community?
Yeah, I think this is a good point, right? Because there are conservatives who do have a lot of empathy and just disagree with progressives on like what's the right thing to do to help people. And I was watching one of these 9/11 documentaries that recently came out and sort of seeing George Bush for the first time in a long time. And I personally was not a supporter of his policies, back when he was in office. But it was so interesting to compare to the current moment, because even if you hate everything that he did policy-wise, he does seem like a man who was largely motivated by really wanting to do what was best for the country. And he maybe did all the wrong things, a lot of us might think. But he did seem motivated by that. And what we see now, especially in the MAGA movement, I think a lot of those voters do think that things are going to be better for the country, but they are really motivated and excited for the other side getting upset, for the other side crying. And I monitor, their forums, these kind of discussion groups that have been kicked off of mainstream platforms. So some really hardcore MAGA people. And most of it is a celebration of the suffering of the other side, celebration of immigrant suffering, about families being ripped apart, about trans people losing their health care. Those are the things they share and enjoy and celebrate. And it shows that it's not just like a lack of empathy, but also like there's some enjoyment of watching the other side suffer. And I think that's a thing that before MAGA we didn't see as like a core part of the conservative or Republican side of things that has crept in. And I think there's a question that I don't have the answer to of how much social media has fueled that too, right? Because it does push us kind of towards the edges. And maybe that's just sort of where it shook out that it pushed the right towards.
So, yeah, I love the way you put that about how social media, we don't know for a fact. Well, sorry, we don't know the actual numbers of and the percentages and all that data wise how social media has pushed this even further. But the word I wrote down when you were talking about it's not just because they want to sometimes beyond owning the libs. I wrote down the word sadism. There's a part, I mean, and so that's my word, but when you're assessing these groups, and you guys should know, you follow and monitor, I guess is a better word, monitor is a better word, MAGA, and a lot of the conversations that are going on with them, you followed, and you got some work coming out soon on the Proud Boys. I mean, what the heck is it like to monitor MAGA and be dipping your foot into the Proud Boys world?
It's interesting. It's actually very interesting comparing the Proud Boys to what I kind of call the red hat MAGA movement, the people who are showing up to Trump rallies who wear the Make America Great Again hats. Because on one hand, like both are Trump supporters and both you'd certainly put on the conservative end of things. But I've talked to a lot of Proud Boys. I've interviewed them for my work. They really stand for something. And we may disagree with what they stand for, right? They're big Second Amendment guys, kind of traditional gender roles, believe in like this, very kind of classic masculinity stuff, anti-immigration. But if Trump were to come out and do something that's against this set of principles that they have, they would call him out for it. And some very prominent Proud Boys do call him out for it. They have also been like very pleasant people to talk to, even though, we go into the conversation knowing that like we don't agree on anything. Their goal isn't really to upset me, even though they know that, I personally am a liberal and don't agree with them. Where that's not really the case with MAGA. The kind of red hat MAGAs that I monitor online, but also that, I've interviewed, I went to, dozens of Trump rallies last year and talked to people when they waited in line. They can be friendly, but they're kind of happy to see me get upset. So it's interesting that there's this difference in like ideology, right? There is a sort of MAGA ideology, but for the red hat MAGAs, if Trump changes a position, almost all the time they'll change with him. Epstein is the one example, which we can talk about if you want. But, generally they don't care about a lot except for Trump and kind of going along with what he wants. Where the Proud Boys, even though, again, I don't agree with them politically, at least they stand for something, and so they
yeah, I mean,
a
lot of people might say what they stand for is craziness in terms of how they want to perpetrate certain antiquated ways of thinking. I mean, I get where you're coming from on that, and that had to be an interesting pill to swallow because, here's one of the things that they have been known to have, and that's a certain amount of charisma, a certain amount of charmingness, if you will, in their ranks. And so that to me is one of the sort of been the deception part of what they stand for. They still stand for some craziness. I mean, at the end of the day, they probably, maybe they didn't say this to you, but saw you as this influential woman and thought, what the heck is she doing out here interviewing us? She should be back home barefoot and pregnant at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at there's a sort of 12 tenets of the Proud Boys, and veneration of the housewife is one of them. So, yeah, I'm a real violation of the things that they think a woman should be doing, for sure. And look, some of the big people who got the seditious conspiracy charges for storming the Capitol on January 6th were Proud Boys, too. Now, of course, they've all been pardoned since then. But they were really instrumental in leading the insurrection. So yeah, I'm not trying to give them much of a pass on their politics.
I know.
But,
there's a difference
but
between...
when you're deep in that space,
yeah.
That's the thing. When you're really deep in the far-right space, you start to see these differences emerge between them and, say, Patriot Front, who are the guys with, like, the white gaiters, over their face and the ball caps and kind of cosplaying FBI. Completely different, like, really neo-Nazi group versus the MAGA people. You do start to see these textures there, and some are, quote-unquote better than others in certain ways, even if their politics align.
What are some of the categories that you discovered with regard to MAGA? And you've noted that there's different categories. What does that mean? What have you seen?
Yeah, so we just talked about the Proud Boys versus the kind of people that you'll see at a Trump rally who some come in very religious, and there certainly is a kind of evangelical support for Trump, which is its own kind of baffling and not a thing that I have enough expertise to describe, because he violates an awful lot of the things that they stand for. But there are people who I think have a very simplistic view of how the government works, and Trump kind of comes in with these simple answers to very complicated problems, and that's appealing. But again, they also really like, and I found this in my interviews and in my academic research too, they like to see their enemies suffer. And that could be, we look at the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband, right, where he was attacked by that man in his house with a hammer, really seriously assaulted. And this is the kind of thing that they would share and laugh about. All kinds of memes, all kinds of jokes about it. And it's not that nobody on the left would gleefully celebrate something like that happening to a prominent right-wing figure. Both sides have a range of people, but I think it wouldn't be the main response of the left to make jokes. And it absolutely is the main kind of response of the right, is to make jokes about the suffering of other people. And that is, you said sadism is your word, but that's actually the academic word that we use for this too. We call it everyday sadism, that just in your life, you enjoy other people's suffering. And they score higher on those psychological tests that measure it. There are also these neo-Nazi groups, which again stand for something besides just Trump. And again, we can say it's very bad things that they stand for, right? That America is a country, that, the only true Americans are white. And if you didn't come, aren't descended from Europeans, like you don't belong here and you should leave. That's really extreme. You don't have to respect that, but they stand for something. Right. So there are those neo-Nazi groups. And of course, then there's all sorts of textures beyond that, militia groups and Second Amendment, people who are really into their guns and that's all they care about. But yeah, the Trump movement, the MAGA movement itself is really fueled by these people who don't have a strong ideology. And they would tell me this when I interviewed them. I wasn't really into politics, until 2016. And I saw Trump come down that escalator and he made fun of that reporter who was disabled and he called somebody fat. And I was just like, this is my guy. And it was really his kind of casual cruelty that appealed to them and then brought them into this movement where he would talk about things that they had legitimate grievances about, offer these simple solutions that, experts know wouldn't work. But they were drawn in, and it appealed to them, and here we are.
Yeah, and that's there's so many words that go through my mind when I'm listening to someone with your expertise and your educational background and your experiential prowess, and that so it puts me on pause. But one of the words that comes to mind with this, as you were describing them, is the word bully. And they follow the bully because they themselves are not capable of standing up for what they actually believe in on their own. That's been my experience. And I'll give you this from the perspective of a black man in America. When someone says something to me that's casually racist or sexist or biased, I call them on it. And their first response is, oh, come on, Chew, we're just being, and then fill in the blanks. We're just joking or just having fun or don't get so uptight, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you've heard that, I'm sure, in your world as a woman. I don't want to speak for you, but you know what I'm saying. But when they're called on it, and I'm talking about when you said casual, the casual everyday bully or a person that follows a bully until you punch them in the face, not literally, but when you punch them in the face with come back to what they said, they will keep going down this path. And what hasn't happened with Donald Trump is that their bully hasn't been punched in the face yet. He hasn't been smacked down by someone that not only did they smack him down, but they put their foot on his neck and kept him down. When that's the thing, because if you think about all the things that have come out about Donald Trump, all the things that have been revealed, all the stuff, it's not stuck to the point where it pinned him to the floor. So their bully hasn't been pinned down yet, but they are following a bully because they themselves don't have the capacity. They're mediocre. They don't have the strength to fight forward and do these things themselves. So they've given it over to the guy that gives them the appearance that he's fighting for them, but he's actually not fighting for them. He knows that they are rubes, to use a phrase. He knows that they don't have the capacity, and he's gobbled it up, and he's turned it into a following. And in my, layperson's way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And if we look to what Republicans and conservatives looked like pre-MAGA, right, pre-Trump, the issues that they cared about were quite different than the policies that Trump has enacted. He has hit on some standard conservative things, abortion, how he's put the justices on the Supreme Court around that issue, and been successful. But does he really care passionately about that? Absolutely not. I think he saw, and I'm sure, I'll keep my speculation to myself. I gotta be careful. He saw that as an issue where he could get people to vote for him. And so he's like, sure, I'm anti-abortion. This is not a thing he was passionate about. And he's certainly said in the past that he was pro-abortion, but he sees it as a way okay, I can get these people behind me. And I think he's, adopted some policies like that to get right-wingers on his side, but also has adopted a lot of this kind of bullying, exactly like you say. I was in rural Pennsylvania talking to people who were like, my dad would be rolling over in his grave if he knew I was here. He was a big union guy. We don't have access to hospitals. We don't have access to good paying jobs. We're abused by our bosses. And I'm like, there are left-wingers who would be on your side with this. You have just seen what you think is a different path towards a solution to real problems. But Trump has come in and, they rightfully feel beaten down by a system that does not work in favor of the worker, that does not work in favor of the poor. And they see Trump as the answer to that because he's a guy that they think has a lot of money, they think has been successful in business, they think bullies the power establishment. And they just haven't been able to see that he's exploiting them, in kind of the same way by making these promises that there's no way he can actually fulfill. But it sounds much better than progressive policies, which tend to say, gosh, this is a really complicated problem and it requires complicated solutions. And Trump's like, this is easy. I'll have it fixed in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that speaks to something that is unfortunately a problem that we have in this country. And I speak to all the greatness of our country, but I also speak to the realities of some of the problems. Education in our country has, and I don't mean public or private, because there's some people who have gone to private school that don't know which way is up. So educating people, being informed, being aware is something that is lacking seriously in our country because these problems are complicated. They're not always simple solutions. They're not simple problems, which would require a complicated solution. And messaging isn't the solution around a complicated issue to just throw out words, but we have a population that, once they get just a taste of enough to make them feel good, then they're on their way to being ones to follow the sadism and the bullying and all the rest that you described. Jen, you've been fantastic, and I really have appreciated you breaking so many of these things down and not making light of the fact that these are complicated things, and there are complicated people that are part of this process. and putting in the work to break some of the things down. What else are you working on right now? I know you just were out in Southern California, Los Angeles specifically, and you saw some pretty amazing things that maybe you can share with us real quickly, and then tell us a little bit about what you're working on. What else you're working on, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'm really interested in protest movements kind of across the political spectrum. And so when the ICE protests were happening out in L.A., I went out there as a journalist. You described that pretty cool picture of me that somebody took.
See, you can even say it. There you go.
I sent it to people, and they're like, "Oh, you've never looked cooler than this." Because I'm real packed out in media. Yeah. But yeah, I went out, I write about it. I do some journalistic work, and I do some photojournalism work because it tends to give me access to people, right, taking their picture in a way. So I'm all there with the photojournalism equipment. And look, I've covered a lot of protests, and it was really interesting being out there at how much the LA police were escalating what at that point, I was out there a couple days after what we saw with the kind of rock throwing and things on fire. These were peaceful protests, but how much the LA police were escalating that, including shooting at journalists. So I got shot by less lethal rounds, standing in the middle of a road with no protesters around me. Police had given no orders, just me and a bunch of photojournalists, and they just randomly started shooting at us, which is something that we saw, covered a lot, in earlier days, journalists and photojournalists getting shot by police. So it was, like, on one hand, not a surprise. Things get crazy at protests, but also, like, how much these protesters were really trying to insist to the authorities that they were being peaceful, and they were being peaceful, and then to see them shooting off flashbangs and, charging horses into the crowd and, arresting people who weren't doing anything, weren't violating curfew. So that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
And, beyond that, so you asked about other stuff I'm working on. I'm working on a project right now that'll be in Esquire magazine in the fall about incels, which is an apolitical extremist group. But a group, if you've heard the term, you think it's kind of these loser guys. It stands for involuntary celibate. But it's actually this kind of very misogynistic extreme hate group online of guys who kind of struggle to make romantic or social connections and manifests into hate for women. They've committed a lot of mass shootings and acts of violence. And so, in addition to the political extremists that I study, this is also one of the groups that I look at. So I'm working on a story for Esquire about them, and I'll have a really active research project. Similar questions, though, right? How do people end up going from aggrieved because they have legitimately had a hard time and getting radicalized online, and then maybe that translating into offline violence? So I don't hang out in the nicest spaces online. That's why I've got a lot of dogs.
Well, there you go. The Goldies. Jennifer Golbeck, thank you for being with us this morning. And you have been a breath of fresh air in terms of exposing more about these groups. We're going to have you back sooner than later to talk more about things that you're working on and be able to share that with our audience. How can folks follow you real quick before we wrap up?
So I'm on all the socials as Jen Golbeck, and I write a newsletter called MAGAReport at magareport.news.
There you go. Thanks for being with us, Jennifer. Have a great day. Stay safe and keep putting out those badass press pictures.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now. Have a great day. Yeah, guys, check out Jennifer Golbeck, Golbeck, and the work that she's doing. And her MAGA report is something you want to follow and pick up on. Wow. Time flew by, Henry. It's wrapping up another show, guys. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to Jen for being with us. Thanks for Kevin Morrison and our man, Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. This is Choose Views. Signing off for now, but take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance